This is Visions Under Construction, a chance for our guests to share their visions and tell us what they're working on. For their continued support, we would like to thank Simwood, straight-talking, forward-thinking telecoms, simwood.com. Why not make Cloudonics your communication partner? Go to cloudonics.io. You can find everything about the VUC at vuc.me, thanks to Bluehost, and thanks also to zipdx.com, the conference bridge, and to voxphone.com for local rate dial-ins. Okay, cool. Here we are all together again for the first time. And my noisy pot just made a noise. Hello, Corrado. Glad to have you with us. We have some great guests today, but first I want to tell you a little bit about ClueCon. The folks were with us last week. It's in San Diego from April 30th to May 2nd, ClueCon Developer Conference with the telecom user in mind. 2 focus tracks, dozens of sessions, plenty of networking opportunities, and you'll be joining industry experts from around the world. Now, we have a terrific thing for you, a deal. Yes, a deal, ladies and gentlemen. It's a special thing where you can buy one entry and get one free by using the code VUCBOGO, which is buy one, get one. So check that out. Remember, it's in San Diego. You're near the ocean. They have a lot of good times, and that is happening. The next thing in the order would be, of course, Camellia World, and many of us are going to be on there. In Berlin, James Bodie will be there. I don't know what happened to him. He's playing hooky today, but we will be there. And the fantastic, did somebody want to say that they were going to come?
Yes, I'm trying to.
Ah, that is great news. Excellent news. Okay. So you may even meet our Italian representative from Scotland. Figure that out, parse that if you will. At Camellia World. That's May 14th to 16th in Berlin. I love Berlin. Berlin is one of my favorite cities. I lived in Paris for over 20 years, but Berlin, wow. I would live there, but for the winter. So forget about it. It's not happening. Next, we're going to talk to Kathleen King is going to give us a quick update. And if you're ready, Kathleen, we can go to that.
Yeah, absolutely. Couple things you need to know about ClueCon. It's going to be earlier this year. It's going to be July 23rd through the 26th. So all of the dates for ClueCon have shifted forward. This is kind of important because...
Number nine.
Great emphasis on it being kind of important because all of the dates have shifted forward. So you only have until April 1st to get the speaking proposals in. So if you want to speak at ClueCon, you need to submit your proposals before April 1st to be considered. That's like a week away. Very important. We have some great proposals that we're pretty excited about already, but we'd like to get a few more of you guys in there. And then the boat tour. We're excited to bring back that boat tour. Voicetel has sponsored this fantastic tour. You get to ride out on a beautiful river tour, go out into the lake. You get to watch the sunset with some drinks. There's a lovely little bar. You get to kind of watch the city. It's really beautiful. So RSVP to that. That's our Thursday night activity. And we've made some changes to our Monday night activity. We have a pizza party, an annual pizza party. And we've got some exciting new changes to that, so keep an eye out on the website. Make sure to RSVP to that as well. It's going to be a lot of fun. It's a awesome networking opportunity. You can come in the first night, meet everybody, drinks, food, have a little bit of fun, and it just kind of sets the tone for the rest of the conference. So we're kind of excited about that. And trainings. We're offering... not only are we offering training at ClueCon, you can sign up for OpenSIPs or you can sign up for free switch training, basic free switch training, but we are now offering virtual free switch training. And that can be done anytime. If you're interested in doing something like that, you can email Sharon@freeswitch.com and she can get you set up and get more information. We're pretty proud to be offering that, so please take advantage of it. It's going to be pretty cool. And sponsors, if you'd like to sponsor, we are about to start printing materials and doing a lot of advertising. So if you're thinking about sponsoring and you're going to wait a little bit, don't. We're about to start kind of creating all the awesome swag and banners and things that you see at ClueCon. So go ahead and do that so you'll be included in all of those. And you can contact Sharon as well, Sharon@freeswitch.com, if you have any questions or need any information. And that's, I think, all I've got for ClueCon today.
Excellent, Kathleen. Thank you very much. Thank you, James, for your sound effects earlier. Speaking of conferences, very, very interesting that you can meet people in person. And one of those people that I met several years ago, several of us have actually met, is our guest today, Suzanne Bowen. Hello, Suzanne, and thanks for joining us again.
Hi, Randy.
And by joining us again, you've never been on the VUC sessions, actually, but that we met in some yet unidentified Astricon. You know, James. James, do you remember when you met Suzanne? If you could unmute without creating a huge...
I think we've always known each other, haven't we, Suzanne? We go back so long ago.
Absolutely.
Once upon a time, we were teenagers together, weren't we, or something like that?
I think we were, definitely, hopefully.
But I have to say, you're looking younger and younger by the day, and look at me. Oh, I don't look at you, in fact.
Actually, I'm not sure you have any video anymore, James, but that may be on my end. Suzanne, we need to go through a long and fruitful career that has far from ended, hopefully. But before we do, we need to talk about your young life. And, you know, we're prohibited from using the word girl, but at some point you were one. You were a young lady, young girl. What were your aspirations when you remember back to when you were a kid, let's say? Were you interested in all this tech stuff, or were you interested in the garment industry, or what was your thing when you were coming up?
I think the first things I wanted to do, I thought maybe I wanted to be a psychologist or a dietitian. That was another thing I was interested in. And I did like to play with gadgets, you know, and I like to build things like with Lincoln Logs or, you know, that kind of thing. But I had no idea I would be doing any of the things that I ended up doing.
Which are numerous, and we need to go through some of them. But you started, according to what we've talked about, one of the things that you mentioned that you were into is fitness. And I want to clear something up, because maybe, are there two Suzanne Bowens in the industry? Is that why a big thing comes up? Yeah?
Yeah, it's so strange because I really was an aerobic instructor, and I managed a fitness center back in my late teens and early 20s. And maybe about 15 years ago, maybe a little bit longer back than that, but there was another Suzanne Bowen on the internet, and she actually made a big career out of it. Her videos are all over YouTube, and I get her emails. We've actually connected on all the social networks.
That's funny, because it's, you know, she's like the would-be Jane Fonda of all of that. And it was, the pictures gave it away, because I know you, and when those things started coming up, it wasn't. Now, most of us, or at least people that are watching this or listening to the call, know you from your work in the VoIP industry. Let's hear about how that all started. What's a nice girl like you doing in the VoIP industry, first of all?
Well, I don't know what it is, but I always end up jumping into things without knowing much about them. And that's because I'm an addicted learner. When I hear about something new, I cannot wait to figure out, how does it work? How can I use it? How can it make life better, more convenient, and all that kind of thing? So I was an English teacher, and I found something called iPhone, I believe it was, before Apple came out. And it was a software from Vocal Tech. And I was using that in my classroom as an English teacher. Then we used CUC-Me, Buddy Phone, a bunch of different things. And I met people all over the world who are still my friends today, such as Greg Giaconovo from Telly. And because he was involved in education online, just like I was. And then I believe Rehan met him through school projects online because I brought my students into a program where they had like electronic pals. And he started helping my school kind of like a partner in education. And I was helping some people over there learn to speak English better. And it just was a really fun experience. And in 1999, after having gone over there to see him get married, we started Super Technologies, and we had this. I just have to show you some really funny retro stuff here. This was a cover for the first super phone. It was a dial-up, as you can see, okay?
Mm.
And, you know, the quality was horrible, but way back then it cost like $5 per minute to call from, say, Vietnam to the US, so people were willing to pay big money for a device like that. And then later on, we started selling this broadband phone. I don't know if you can see this or not, but of course, just like the business partner, Rihan, one year we were showing these to an Omani prince, and he took us to dinner, and he was going to buy them for like $1,400 a piece and sell them for a whole lot more. And the business partner said to him, they're not going to be worth any more than $50 within a year. So you know what happened. Mm-hmm. We didn't sell the guy any. So that's a quick rundown of what led from my earlier careers to being involved in VoIP. I just saw the convenience, making calls inexpensive, because I hated things like, I'm in Pensacola in this great house. Now I got to move to another part of Pensacola, and they won't let me bring my phone number with me. You know what I'm saying? So it's that kind of thing.
Yeah, I've experienced that. And as a matter of fact, in the early days in California, there were toll calls between cities that weren't really that far apart. I mean, the people in the United States are probably kind of familiar with that. And certainly once I moved over to Europe, well, there's kind of a funny story in that my mother always served as the beta tester to all the different services I subscribed to. When I would call her and go, how do I sound now? Because there were all these SIP services, because it cost, I don't know how much, maybe $1 a minute to call from, say, France to where she was in the Midwest. And I can remember back to when she called, to give you a sign of where I'm coming from, when she used to call her sister once a week, she actually memorized the codes to give the human operator the patch codes. It was like red 2L plus 14 or something that she would tell the people to speed up the call setup. That cost money. Also, people used to do things, you know, my cousins and so on used to do things like you would call, because it was horribly expensive to call even within the United States. So they would call a person to person, and then they would give, it was like do-it-yourself SMS. So you'd call, you know, could I speak to so-and-so? Well, they're not here right now. Well, do you think they'll be arriving on a train around 6 p.m. at such and such a station? I mean, that was the secret message that didn't cost anything to transmit. Of course, now zoom over to even 10 years ago, where you have SMS and chat and all the rest. You can pass all these messages. But back in the day, I tried all of those things. As far as, how do you pronounce that? Is it DIDX or DIDX? How do you pronounce it?
You know, for some reason, I always want to spell it out, DIDX, but a lot of people say DIDX. So whatever people feel most comfortable with.
Okay. I don't know which I feel most comfortable with, but this is that's a wholesale outfit, right? I mean, this is not the person who wants to make calls, doesn't deal with them. DIDX or DIDX sells wholesale to businesses, right?
It's like it's in the middle, like the middle person that's making it easy for all types of companies who provide communication services to enable them to buy DIDs from, you know, I think it's right now about 130 nations around the world, and then they resell them to their customers. So it could be a smaller business, like a set of contact centers around the world, or a bigger one, which might be an MVNO, or all of the VoIP companies that we know of. You know, they don't all use DIDX, but many of them do. And then, of course, we have some great vendors who make money by selling the DID to all these people. So the team is in the middle making all that work.
How this is a non-trivial operation in that Google Voice originally, I think, had some ambition to operate in several countries. And I think that the reason that they don't, and I mean, the no-brainer would be the UK, right? Or even Canada. I think they're not even in Canada. And these would seem to be the most easy. But with regard to what you're saying, Suzanne, what I'm asking about is the negotiations with all these countries must be extremely complicated. Who takes care of that kind of stuff?
We have around 25 employees, and they're all over the world. And I have to say that we're all kind of involved in everything, but each of us have our own area that we take care of, but we also team up for things like what you're talking about. So, you know, I would say Kamal and Aston, I don't know if anybody has met them yet. Kamal Panwar, he was at OpenStips last year.
Oh, yes.
Aston was at Astricon and ITEXPO. But we have some great guys and gals who work with us in the technical side, as well as marketing and sales and customer service. And what I really enjoy about working with the team is every single entity that they work with, I see that they actually feel a relationship. I don't know how to explain it, but there's this aura within the team, and I like being a part of that. And it's one of the reasons that I've never completely left. Somebody's going to have to drag me out of there.
We're going to get into some other things that you've been doing, but James, I'd love to hear you comment on this because you've been involved in these things before. It's just such a daunting thing to me. Now, you know, we have DIDs from Voxbone, for example, and they do this, and that's kind of what they do, basically, right? But with TruePhone, you must have some experience with that, James. It's not an easy thing to deal with all these different countries. How does that work?
Well, you just have to be extremely thorough. And to be perfectly honest, in the past, we've rolled our own DIDs. We've used Voxbone. We've used DIDX because different companies have different coverage areas, so can provide numbers in different countries. There's no one single provider that you can go to get every single country.
Yeah,
so,
exactly. That's the same that we do. We have multiple suppliers for the DIDs. And the difference most times we encounter is because of different legislation in different countries, that some countries require a specific documentation that you need to include with the request of the DID. You have to have an address at the exact location where the area code is. So there are a number of restrictions that are probably induced by a dominant operator that doesn't want to be sidestepped by other operators, so they put a bit of barriers. Nominally, is to avoid fraud and something else, but it's really just to hold up a dominant position and not let smaller operators to be flexible and offer services that they can. That's all.
But each country has its own rules, so that, for example, in Germany, if you needed a DID in Germany, you have to have a certain thing, possibly an address. Here in France, I know that you have to have an address if you want a geographic. I recall that the UK had national numbers that were first available back in the day.
Yeah, I remember. Has my video gone off? It has.
No, you're not. We don't see you, but
it's probably bandwidth.
Okay. Here we go. You're back.
UK now you can buy whatever you want.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I remember when we started off. I think I was the very, very first person to offer UK numbers outside of UK. Which we were using, bolting onto Free World Dial-Up.
UK, what was it called? Talk UK? No.
Gossip Tell. Call UK.
Call UK, thank you.
Call UK.
Thank you for remembering your own business. Which wasn't really a business, though, was it? It was.
Imagine that in Italy you need to present the request for a number, including your identification document. You need to include a passport or an identity card to obtain a number in Italy. So there are so many complications, legal complications behind buying DIDs that sometimes is not even worth if you don't have an operator like DIDX or Voxbone that helps you through and says to you and guides you in, we need that, we need this, we need that, and with forms that you just fill in. It's a daunting prospect. Yes.
And Michael mentions UK DID with our friend David, I think his name is, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, David Nell, right? In UK, and that's still going on. Suzanne,
Well,
I'm not trying to.
Yeah, I think it's actually stopped now, isn't it?
I'm not even sure.
Yeah,
that was running for quite a while.
It was, and but there were some people who were taking advantage of it. So sadly, I believe it had to stop.
Well, I think I had 20 or 30 numbers, but I didn't do anything.
Well, you're to blame.
I probably ruined everything for everybody. Anyway, okay, so
we know who's at fault for that then.
Just a quick, and Suzanne, I don't want to steal your thunder. We're going to get back to you in a second, but I did want to pursue this just far enough to say, how does this work if you want a number in China or in Vietnam or in Afghanistan or in Pakistan? Indeed, I mean, Pakistan, I guess, would be less of a problem for UK DID, but there's got to be even worse challenges in, say, non-Western, for lack of a better term, nations.
Well, there's a couple of things that I know we do. One is anybody who's interested, you go look at kb.didx.net and look at the link for documentation, and it has a list of countries and the criteria that is involved that you need to go through before you're actually able to try and provision a number. And even when a person logs into their buyer account and they're searching the DIDs or they're using the API, either way, if they click to buy a number in an area that requires documentation, there will be a pop-up that will keep them from completing the purchase until they have supplied this documentation, and there's a way to upload the documentation of proof. The second thing is, how would a group like DIDX be able to get the DIDs from these areas that you mentioned? They go to conferences all the time. We believe conferences are really important, not just on this side of the world, but on the eastern side. And so we go to GITEX all the time, and the Asian Carriers Conference in the Philippines and Singapore, Communicasia. That way we can meet face-to-face with government officials and with mobile operators and the ILEX and so forth. So that way we can build a relationship with them and show them that we are following their criteria, their regulations. So I hope that answers.
Yeah.
Oh, it does, totally.
And it can't be underestimated, the amount of effort that has to be put into collecting these numbers and then engineering them, testing them to make sure that the presentation is exactly the same right the way across the number range. It's a huge, huge task. And it's not a task I would want to, not a business I'd want to be in, because it's all about attention to detail.
Thank you for realizing.
Well, yeah, I know, I understand, and sometimes people don't really understand this when they just buy a $1 DID, and the amount of stuff that has to go on behind the scenes.
And they have gotten cheaper and cheaper and cheaper to the point where Callcentric, for example, Callcentric, is it? Yeah, I think offers free DIDs that you can have forever. There's a couple other companies that do that. We have a company in France called IPPI.com, IPPI.fr. They do this. They are not free. And I think that they started maybe to operate to let furnish free DIDs and realized that, people will take advantage of that. People like me who test, I don't even never make calls, but I always have these DIDs that people can call me. It's silly, but it's just a way to keep abreast of the technology. Anyway, okay, we've covered that. The next iteration, Suzanne, of your visions is the clothing part of it. Now, how did that come about? And I think I should mention that I am wearing a beautiful leather jacket. I can't.
It's Tintin.
Yes. Well, I got a haircut today too. In fact, I got them all cut, and they're very short. How did that come about, Suzanne?
When I left DIDX in 2011, didn't come back until 2015.
I was going to say you never left, but you did
It
leave
looks
and
like I
come back.
never left,
Okay.
but I took off for about 3 or 4 years because I felt that they needed to, we all agreed it was a good thing. So I was trying to figure out what I was going to do. I had sold my part of the company, and what do I do? So I started off, I worked a year for a guy in Canada, Astricon. It was a VoIP company. And then I worked a year for BlockDOS. Boy, was that a big eye opener. I had to learn all about cybersecurity, talk about knowing nothing, but it turned out really well. In both cases, I was just helping them with the marketing, and it was like a 1-year contract. Meanwhile, I'm talking to lots of people. Do I want to go into a new business, or do I want to go to work full-time or part-time? I was interested in any of the above. And then a guy who used to work with me at Super Technologies in DIDX named Fahad Iqbal said, let's just start a company. It'll be really easy. You'll make a lot of money.
Oh, that old chestnut.
We'll just, and I just have a team of people in the Philippines, Mexico, and Pakistan, and we create websites and we work on graphics and videos, and you can just do the marketing. We'll be co-founders and all. This guy I could really trust. I'd known him for at least 12 years. So we started off that way, but I'll tell you what, creating websites and e-commerce setups, people think they know what they want, and then when they get it, it isn't what they wanted, and what should be a 6-month thing takes 1.5 years. So I told him, I said, I am not enjoying this. So I'm either going to sell out my part or we have to come up with something new. So then he said, let's make leather jackets and vests. And so I talked to some people I know, who would think, right? And I talked to some people in Pensacola because we have some really Little John's Big and Tall, and also Leather for You. And they do some of our work, but most of it is done in Karachi, Pakistan, where Fahad is. And the workmanship is unbelievable. And I love science fiction, and it's really weird because at first we were just going to make leather jackets, classic ones, you know, like biker jackets and blazers. But people started asking for, oh, I want to look like Chris Pratt in Guardian of the Galaxy, or I want to look like Dean Winchester from Supernatural, which is what Randy has on right now. And then all these jackets that are behind me, there are some of the samples.
That's Supernatural. I thought it was Tintin.
It's distressed. You call it distressed. So that's how I ended up getting into it. And I have managed to mix the two careers, as in most of the conferences, we give away one at the end of the conference. Dave Tasman from Telmix won, you know, and Randy's got one. Duran Vinson, I forgot what company he works for, and somehow I figured out how to mix everything, you know.
So how do customers get their designs in? If you want a special jacket, how do people tell you what they'd like made?
Well, either they send us pictures of a jacket that they love, that they've never had and they want it, or a jacket that is destroyed, they have a picture of it and they need one like it. Or if they don't have pictures, then they tell us about it. And if they're good at drawing, or if they're able to draw so that we can see it, otherwise they talk to me because I'm better at drawing than body. And they tell me how they want it to look. And so I draw it, take a picture, send it to them. And then they let me know what's wrong or right, you know, and even measurements, like they want a hooded vest. And they tell us how far forward they want the hood to come, you know, and it's all custom design, custom fit. And sometimes some designs end up being really popular, so we put them on our store. That's how we do it.
And how long does it take to get a custom design from drawing to delivery?
If it's the first one we've made of that design, it can take 2.5 months because, you know, no matter how talented tailors are, and if you think when they're working on them in Karachi, English is their second language. So they're looking at the drawings, but somebody has to speak to them with a mixture of English and their own local language to help them make sure they understand. So yeah, anywhere from 2 weeks to 2.5 months, but on average, it's about a month per item. And there's a lot of TLC involved. I'm not kidding. A lot of it is handcrafted, literally. I'm really proud of it. Yeah.
Suzanne, I was silent. I was silent there because I was looking for a website. I thought I had one. Is there a URL we can give for people to look at?
Suzadi, SUZAHDI.com. And if you don't find what you need there, then we have a store on eBay. So it's stores.ebay.com/Suzadi. I think right now, maybe when people go to Suzadi.com, it automatically forwards to the eBay store because we're doing some upgrades on our website. And I think we have about 48 different jackets and vests that we make right now that are on our eBay store.
I'm trying to find it to show it as a, but I'm not having any luck.
Yeah,
here.
the main site is not there at the moment, but the eBay one certainly is, with all kinds of.
Can you chuck that in somewhere, James, so I can go to
yeah, if you just search for Suzadi, it's the second one down on the Google search list. Some great ones here. Planet of the Apes inspired gorilla soldier warrior vest.
Guess who gave us that idea? The founder of Pensacon Comic-Con. And he was the first one we made the jacket for. And already we sold, like, he just ordered it recently. And already we sold like maybe 4 or 5 since then. So we're so happy he suggested it to us, you know?
Yeah. I love the Steve Rogers Captain America Civil War inspired leather jacket.
James, can you chuck whatever it is you're looking at into one of the chats that we're all on? So I can find it. No, because I'm not having any luck for some reason. I don't know. I'm looking at.
Well, probably because you're spelling Suzadi wrong.
Yeah, I am sure.
Well,
so
think of it like first 3 letters of my name, SUZ, and then the Adi part is the other business partner, part of his name, AH as in happy, D as in Denmark, I.
Yeah, I would send it if it was easy, but it's not.
Okay, yeah, I do see it now.
You've got it.
Well, the first link was, it redirects. Okay, here we go.
Redirects, yeah.
Yeah, no, but the first one wasn't it, but it redirects to eBay. And now, if I get rid of my bookmarks.
And what gets me about these is that they're not hugely expensive either, are they? For the amount of work that goes into them.
That's true, because we're still trying to create a brand, you know. And when we're brand new, and we are very upfront in our description on each item that they're made in Karachi, Pakistan, and Pensacola, Florida. So we start off. I will tell you the truth. In the beginning, they were much less expensive than what you see right now. And I'm sure that within a year or two, they're going to be more expensive than they are now. But that's how it is in retail. And so.
Yes, as your reputation grows. I want one of those. I want a Sean Connery, Alan Quatermain distressed brown leather vintage vest.
All right,
I want one of those.
Connery. Oh my.
All right, so we are there now, fortunately, and I'm scrolling slowly because if you want one of these, you're going to have to go fast because it's going to be more next year.
No, just zoom in on the Sean Connery one because
what row is it in?
It's at the bottom.
Bottom, the complete bottom, like here. Yeah, here we go.
You've got it. Yeah.
Oops, I zoomed on the Hangout by accident. Hold on.
Yeah, can you imagine?
Yeah, we
just click on the picture, make it big.
Well, you can't.
I want one of those. No, just click on it.
Down, it's coming down here. This is here, right?
I was searching for something on the Mad Max team, and there is nothing. The search returned 0 items. So I may have Mad Max, something very distressed, very in that genre.
Yeah, and if you click, and most of these listings, if you click on the pictures and scroll through, you'll see that we also include pictures of our customers in the jackets who allow us to, because we believe that we don't want it to just be where people see Sean Connery wearing it, but we want to see James Bodie wearing it. See?
Oh yeah.
Well,
Well, I'm not
you know,
sure
that-
that's an
that-
advantage.
That'll
but-
frighten people off.
yeah, I'm not sure that's a good thing.
And if we don't have a picture of you, Randy, in our Dean Winchester set of photos, if you will send me a really good high quality picture and allow
Oh,
me to post it there, that'd be awesome.
okay. I'll try to get a high quality picture of myself. Sure. Why not? So what's next, Suzanne? That's the big question.
Yeah, where are you going to go next?
Where are you going to
Because
go from
'cause
all of these great pivots that you've done that aren't really pivots, in my opinion? They're just expressions of who you are.
I guess, you know, everybody, I can see the value in having one career and sticking with it your whole life. And then, but I enjoy more what I've been doing. It's been kind of tough because, you know, like I said, I jump into things without knowing much about it, but I'm a fast learner. And even today, I know so much more about voice over internet and how it works than I did in the beginning. I know a lot more about cosplay and fashion and leather jackets and vests, and I have a lot more to learn. And the bootstrapping, oh my goodness, maxing out credit cards, you know, somehow making it work. And the cultural differences. I tend to work with people who are totally opposite from me in religion, ethnicity, nationality, sometimes even lifestyle, and so on. And there's all these things, like, I don't know about you guys, but in the United States, like, typically when we're going to do business, we talk about what it is and we make a decision. But in other parts of the world, it takes 6 months. It's like an ongoing thing that takes a long time. And like here, we say what we're going to do and then we do it. But whereas in other areas of the world, you'll say, yeah, I can do that, and I can do this, and I can do that, but you can't. And so it's like kind of over promising and under delivering. And I would rather, you know, under promise and over deliver, those kinds of things. So I don't know what I'm going to do next, because what I'm doing right now, I really love staying in touch with people like you from IP Communications. Also, the people I meet through the leather jackets. I just want to give you one example. We have a customer from Italy named Pino, and I had no idea how important him getting the Top Gun Tom Cruise jacket was. And it took us about 2.5 months because he had many specifications of how it had to look. And I had many conversations, and thank goodness I got an Italian phone number, DID. So he called me on that. And I learned by getting to know him in this process that he actually had transverse myelitis. He used to be a pilot. Suddenly he had transverse myelitis, caused him to be quadriplegic, but for a period of time. And he had all this therapy. And he got rid of about 95% of the problems and only has some issues today. And he got his jacket and he went on his first solo flight. And just talking about it makes me want to cry. I mean, the hair stands up on my arms, you know. So I think that the work I do, there's always that element. So when you talk about visions under construction, that's what's in my head all the time.
That's why we wanted to have you here today, Suzanne. I want to mention, it's funny you mentioned about the cultural differences. Just one anecdote, which is that we were spammed to death about a world fair in Shanghai regarding the wine industry. When I say spam to death, I mean it's constant, you know, yeah. So it was near the time of the World's Fair in Shanghai, and we had friends in Shanghai. So they said, hey, come on and stay with us. So we signed up for the World's Fair. It was a fantastic, what a wonderful place to visit, by the way. Go to Shanghai if you haven't been and you would like to go there. It's just wonderful place. But the interesting part was that we get there. They knew how to spam us for months about the thing. We signed up. We were registered. We get there. and we managed to get to the place where it was supposed to be. You know, it's Friday at registration, 9 o'clock. We get there. There's a little tiny piece of paper in Chinese, which someone read to us, which translated to, the fair has changed. It's now 6 months from now.
Oh.
And there was like no, there was absolutely no notification of that before then. Fortunately, we had other things to do, and there was the World's Fair, so that was great. And again, Shanghai's a wonderful place. Had I thought about giving this anecdote, I'd show you one photo that would just completely blow your mind. It's just such a beautiful place to be. But anyway, Suzanne, I want to ask you one final question, unless anyone else has any questions. And if you do, please hit *6 in ZipDX or type it into IRC, because that's the only thing I've got open. But if somebody else has other chats open, that's great. And while we're waiting for that, I just want to ask you one thing, because you've impressed me throughout the years as someone who seems to have dealt with this. But let's face it, as a woman, you have lived in all these conferences. You know, you have maybe 1 in 10 people are female, other than the booth babes, or whatever you want to call that, whatever the politically correct expression for that is. The females who are not working, and Kathleen, I mean, you're in this too, actually. Those of you who are, women, and you're not in the, whatever the right word for that is, presentation level, you're actually actors in this. It's got to be tough. And yet you, Suzanne, and Kathleen, you too, but you're protected by all the guys around you with Free Switch. Suzanne, you're an independent. I mean, how have you lived that? Any comments?
Well, I have to say, for example, Kathleen and Sharon at ClueCon and Free Switch are very welcoming kind of people. And that's what's really important when we're, as women, we have to not hold each other back. I think we are part of the problem sometimes, women in industries where they're a rarity. We need to stop holding each other back. We need to talk to each other and get to know each other. Because I see the guys backslapping, hugging, all happy to see each other, talking. They talk on the phone all the time. They collaborate on projects. Really, this is what I think. How I have felt off and on in telecom, and even today sometimes in the fashion industry, is kind of lonely. I feel kind of lonely, but I don't let it hold me back. Even though I feel lonely, I still step up, step out, get moving, meet new people, introduce people, just take the rein in my hands. You just have to, no matter who you are, whether you feel like you're from a third world country, or you're a female, or you're handicapped, or whatever you are in whatever industry, you just have to take the rein by your hands and get out there and, do what you got to do.
Suzanne, I'm in awe of you, really, because you just get out there and you just communicate. And we could do with just cloning you 20,000 times. And a lot of our diplomacy problems would be dealt with, really. So it's you, people like you, and Kathleen. Kathleen's another one that gets out there and interfaces with people. It's the way forward, isn't it?
And I think that Kathleen, who I'm going to call on now, so I'm putting her on the main screen, I think that somehow you are also you're kind of immune to all of the weird issues that happen. I mean, having, seen you in Berlin, you don't seem to suffer from any particular, you can contradict me if you want, but you're part of the group. You're just another person, right? How do you feel about that?
Yeah, I don't know. I think for the most part, pretty easygoing. So it kind of helps. Like, things just generally don't bother me. So maybe I'm just missing everything, or maybe, I don't know.
No, I think you've got the right line, which is you're just one of the chaps. It's just
Yeah.
you're a girl chap, not a guy chap. So that's fine.
But neither one of these women are complete geeks either. So it's just wonderful to have you both with us, first of all. And second of all, I think you've got the whole right thing, and hopefully people treat you as equals. As far as my observation, Suzanne, I've seen you less. We only had a few, maybe a few hours total FaceTime, but Kathleen, I watched you among everybody at, well, Camino World is also very particular, isn't it? Because it's just a very, very nice gathering, and there's not going to be anything crazy going down there. But the point is that both of you share that in common, that I believe that you are just part of the thing that's happening. You're part of the event. And I don't believe, and hopefully no one treats you any differently than that.
No, I think for the most part, I mean, everyone just treats me as is. I would say the only thing that maybe I'm treated differently is because I'm a little bit younger and a little bit more inexperienced. But to be honest, that's very fitting and actually helpful for me. So, you know.
But like I said, you have brothers and cousins and uncles, you know, I'm calling them that, but all of the guys at Free Switch who would kill anybody who would do anything bad anyway. So you're protected. Whereas Suzanne maybe doesn't have that advantage. I don't know.
Yeah, I actually do get sort of teased about that a little bit. Like my older brother kind of laughs because he never has to worry about me going out like into the city after the conferences because I'm with so many people and they're already checking up on me. So we had a funny conference incident where he didn't know where I was. So he asked somebody and then apparently a little telephone chain happened and they were like, oh no, she's here. She's with us. Like, it's fine. This is the time we're going to be coming back. Like, yeah, it was funny.
Well, we're going to miss both of you in Berlin. Suzanne, when's your next public appearance, if I may state it thus? When's the next opportunity for people to meet you?
This year, I'll be at OpenSIPS May 1 through 4 in Amsterdam, and I'll be at ITW in Chicago right after that, and Communicasia and ClueCon. Those are in June and July. And let's see, Walker Stalker Con in Atlanta.
Stalker Con? What the heck's that?
Yeah, tell us what that is.
The Walking Dead.
Oh, well, that must be a really good market for leather jackets.
Oh, it is unbelievable.
Walker Stalker Con. Whereabouts is that? That sounds so
it's
funny.
in Atlanta in late October.
Right.
Yeah, being Walking Dead, they would have to be in Atlanta or at least in Georgia.
Of course.
And Kathleen, anything before ClueCon?
No, not that I can think of, or nothing off the top of my head.
Buzzed, wrong.
ComCon.
You're going to be on VUC before.
Are you going to ComCon?
I don't think so. At least nothing set in stone right.
Oh, okay.
Nothing set in stone, huh?
Mm.
All right. Well, I have a traveling spouse who's going to be here any second. So unless there are any questions or comments from anybody else, we could probably just stop the torture that is the VUC for these ladies and let it go at that, unless anybody has any further. Did we give all the URLs and everything? Suzanne, your store, what I've got here is StoresEBay.com/SUZAHDI. And Kathleen, ClueCon.com.
Yep.
Michael, ZipDX.com. James?
No,
Nothing.
I'm not even going to go there.
Too
commercial.
secret.
We don't do commercial.
No.
It's all about the people.
Yeah.
Gee. Well, Suzanne, I wish you would be coming to Berlin. You're so close with OpenSIPS and yet so far, but maybe next time.
Yes.
Thank you so much for joining us. I've been waiting a long time to have you with us, and that's great. And let's not wait another 10 years. Let's do this again, at least next year, if not before. You have a new line to announce or something, get in touch and we'll talk about it. I'd love to talk about it.
That's right. The next career change for you. We look forward with great interest.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Well, I'm taking ideas, and also I enjoyed this conversation with all of y'all so much.
Thank you so much, Suzanne. Thanks to Kathleen King, ClueCon, and Free Switch. Thanks to Coraldo, who is seriously thinking about meeting us in Berlin.
Yes.
Thanks to James Boat. Thank you, Corrado. That means a lot to me. Seriously, we'll do anything we can. Any help we can give you, we will. That goes for any of you else out there. The rest of you out there. If you need a hand in coming to Berlin for Camellia World, let us know. Reach out.
Indeed, and you don't have to come for the entire duration. It's like Maxim turned up on day one last year.
And
And there was, I came down to the bar, and there was Maxim sitting in the bar. So wow, what a surprise!
Fortunately, we won't have that same guy playing the piano and MIDI synthesizer in the bar because I'm in a different hotel. Thank you, everybody. We really appreciate all of your participation. Let me just look at which camera I'm on. Okay, let me move this over to this and do the full Monty. Here we go. Are you ready for this? This has been Zip.
What?
Yep, that's it.
That's it.